Winter Roses, Autumn by Fairytalelovr. Chapter 11. Ned only rolled his eyes when they rode into the courtyard of the Tower of the Hand. As usual, a steward was there waiting for him. "His Grace would like to welcome you home and invite you to his chambers for a drink, my Lord Hand." Ned scoffed. "Welcome home," as if. "You may tell his Grace that I should be delighted to accept his invitation on the morrow. For now, I am simply too tired after my travels, and must rest and see to my work. Therefore I have no time to indulge in refreshments." But my lord, the king!" "Will certainly understand that I must put duty first." "Lord Stark, I must insist—" The steward started, but then Silver appeared next to Ned, and the man stumbled back in shock and utter fear. "As I said," Ned began, biting back a smile, "you may tell his Grace that I shall come and meet him on the morrow." He then turned away from the steward to the carriage, to help Ella out. Silver stepped in front of him, facing the steward, who quickly collected his wits and rushed away, back towards the king's chambers. "Are you sure that was wise?" Ella asked. "I'm not in the mood to deal with Robert's drunkenness right now," he replied quietly, petting Silver's head. "Jory, send for Sir Barristan, Lord Varys, and Lord Manderley. Tell them to come in 1 hour. Then summon Master Byron." "Ned, are you sure you want to tackle this all at once?" Ella asked. "I have to. You are 5 moons pregnant, and I won't have. I need to know I can trust him. I won't allow them to come after my family again." "I am as skeptical to their order as you are, but nothing is going to happen between today and tomorrow. Maester Byron was recommended by Maester Lewin, and Cragen is living proof that—" "I'm not taking any chances," he stated decisively. "Go now, Jory." Ella knew better than to try to continue to argue. Besides, she was in desperate need of a bath and a good nap before going to deal with the wedding preparations that were now so close to approaching. They had just reached the foyer when Arya and Rickon came running. "Father, can we send for Sirio?" the girl asked. "Tomorrow," Ella said after rolling her eyes. "You may send a message to him today if you wish, children," Ned said with barely concealed mirth, "but he won't come before tomorrow. Today is a day for resting and unpacking." "And whoever does not unpack properly may not ride or have dancing or sword lessons," Ella said seriously, which both children immediately began to complain. "Arya! Rickon!" Ned called. "Your stepmother has made a decision. You will respect it." "Aye, father," both said in a dismayed unison, as they rushed up the stairs to their chambers. "They won't unpack properly, will they?" Ned asked. Ella snorted. "Of course not. They'll try to, and they'll even try to put everything in their proper original location. But gods, do they have poor organization skills. I will just have to walk them through it later." Ned chuckled. Sansa put Cragen down on the floor, and he was still a bit cranky to have his nap interrupted. "Come here, boy. Come to Papa." "Father, he is too young to walk," Sansa insisted, taking off her cloak. "He gave a few steps," Ned insisted back. "Ned, stop pressuring him. He will walk when he is ready," Ella said. "He was trying to show off because Lyanna wouldn't stop running around the room. But now he doesn't have that incentive. And he just woke up," Sansa added. "Good luck trying to get him in a good mood." "Right you are, dear. Come on, let's find ourselves some baths," Ella said, and Sansa rushed over, putting an arm through hers. "Then we'll have loads to do. I have to check how the preparations are going." "Can I count on you?" "Of course," Sansa replied, and the two began climbing up the stairs, talking about food and drink and entertainment and guest lists. "It's all right, son," Ned said, picking up Cragen as he crawled over. "I'd be cranky if they jostled me awake from a nap too." The steward shrunk back and dodged the flying wine cups, spiraling wine all over the room. Jamie had to bite his lip to keep in a sigh. Robert was beginning to be even more insufferable than usual with his repeated childish behaviour.
What do you mean Lord Stark is not coming? The king asked. Has he not arrived in the Red Keep?
He has, your grace, the poor man stammered, but he claimed to be overtired and with too much work to be done. He said he will join you to celebrate his return on the morrow.
Tired? And you didn't say anything else? Are you a fucking spineless bitch?
No, your grace, of course not. It's just, you see, I couldn't very well drag Lord Stark here.
Well, that is too bad. I'm certain it would have been quite entertaining, Jamie said ironically. Robert glared at him.
Though, I must say, your grace, well, you see, Lord Grace didn't return alone.
Of course not, you dumb shit, Robert exclaimed. His family came with him, didn't it? His lady wife and half the children.
Yes, I didn't mean that. You see, he brought, well, I think it was a dire wolf, your grace. I have never seen a wolf that big. It was almost as tall as a horse.
Oh, now that promises to be interesting, Jamie said, after that incident on the road back from Winterfell.
Out! The both of you! Get out!
The steward scurried away like a scared cat, and Jamie bowed and turned away slowly.
You must be laughing inside, Lannister, Robert said acidly.
I see no reason to laugh, your grace. We all know how boring Lord Stark is, always putting his beloved cold duty before anything else. It's a wonder, really, that he ever managed to be your friend. Lord Stark is dutiful, loyal, and honourable. Whatever did you have in common?
Mind your tongue, Lannister, or I will box it up and have it sent to your father.
The Mad King threatened that once, Jamie shrugged. I was actually worried when he did it. Robert took the flagon of wine, the nearest thing, and threw it at the Kingsguard, getting wine to shower over the other side of the room. Jamie closed the door in time to shield his white cloak. The flagon clinked against the wood, the metal part making an echoing sound, as the glass exploded in thousands of pieces. The king wished his friendship with Ned would be fixed as easily as calling for the maids to clean it up and bring more wine. Ned was rubbing his temples, trying to dispel the migraine that was starting after his conversation with Master Byron. Silver was stretched in front of the unlit fireplace, very satisfied with his position as intimidator. But that was something that could not become a habit, or it would become another source of trouble with Robert. If everyone in the city was scared or threatened by the direwolf, not even the Hound ship would be able to protect him.
Sir Barristan Selmy, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Jory announced.
Lord Stark, the knight said after coming in. I must say you have been missed.
Severed elves, don't tell me the council has gone to pieces,
Ned grumbled, gesturing for them to sit.
No, the ruling part was well handled. Other than a scuffle or two with the city guard about hiring more men and giving them raises, Lord Renly and Lord Varys managed to keep everything in hand. I'm afraid that you shall have to deal with it, though. And I believe Janos Slynt is determined to have more gold.
One more thing on my list for tomorrow, Ned said. Anything else I should be made aware of? My maester made it seem like there was something he would like to tell me.
And so there is, Sir Barristan said. Oh, it seems I got here just in time, Varys said.
Ned only rolled his eyes at his unannounced entrance.
It happened when Maester Byron came to tell the king about your raven that you had arrived in Castle Black, Barristan started. I decided against sending you a message, because Lord Varys and I were able to fix the situation, and I did not wish to disturb you when you had left on such an important task.
God, don't tell me the king has been threatened, Ned exclaimed.
It is a way of looking at the situation, Varys said. Maester Byron noticed the king was a bit drunker than usual.
Ned snorted. Is this supposed to be surprising?
The maester examined his grace, and was able to determine that some herb was being added to the king's wine, making him more uncontrollable, making the effects of the wine more intense.
Ned stood up and went to the window. Finally, a few moons after autumn had officially been declared, the heat of King's Landing had broken, though it was still far hotter than he was comfortable with. Still, It was easier to think when his brain wasn't melting.
"His squire is a Lannister boy, isn't he? One of Lord Kevin's sons?" he asked.
"Yes, my lord," Varys said. "I was able to ensure the king's wine was cleared of this enhancing herb, but Sir Barristan and I agreed harsh decisions were unadvisable."
"We can't send any more insults to Casterly Rock, or Lord Tywin will stop biding his time, and the last thing we want, or need, is open conflict,"
Ned said.
"But the boy must go. Sir Barristan, can he be knighted?"
"Well, I doubt the boy knows which way the pommel of a sword is, my lord, but he wouldn't be the first knight in this situation."
"Having one more Lannister walking around posing like a peacock is a small price to pay in the broader scheme of things,"
Ned said sourly.
"But I need to find another boy to replace him before I put it into the king. It is time we thin out the herd of Lannisters surrounding his grace."
"Perhaps a Stormlands boy,"
Varys suggested.
"So the Lannisters wouldn't claim you are trying to surround the king with your own people."
"Good suggestion. I shall speak with Lord Renly to hear his suggestions." "Does that mean the king is no longer so altered?"
he asked, and the other two exchanged a look.
"Speaking freely, my lord," Sir Barristan said, "but Robert always has had too much love for wine. He isn't as out of control as he was before you left, but he still spends most of his days in his cups." "I see."
Ned sighed. He wished the problem had been the altered wine, but it seems Robert's addiction wasn't so easily vanquished after all.
"In your last Raven, Lord Varys, you said you had news about the whole scheme to murder my son and grandson. Do you have a lead?"
"Better yet, my lord, I have a name."
Ella stirred when she felt movement, blinking awake confusedly.
"Sorry," Ned said in a quiet voice. "I was trying not to wake you."
She looked around, gathering her wits. She remembered settling the children in, then soaking in a relaxing bath, and finally curling on the armchair by the hearth with Poole's reports of the household duties. She must have fallen asleep at some point, because the sky was dark outside, and Ned was carrying her to bed. "It's all right. I suppose I should wake up to eat anyway."
"I'm certain the babe would be grateful."
He chuckled. "Did you deal with everything you had to deal with?" He sighed.
"Mr. Byron might be a bit upset," he confessed.
"Ned, what did you do?"
"I asked him if I could trust him, that I'd recently discovered a conspiracy to get rid of unfavourable children, and if he had something to do with the conspirators. Silver did some intimidating, though, but now I know for certain we might trust the good maester."
"Good. I should hate to feel so vulnerable. What did Varys and Barristan have to say?"
"Varys got a name," he revealed with an exhale. "A spice merchant with a store here on the hook."
"But why? What have we ever done to this man?"
"It seems his store was flourishing, and then when I went through the books, cutting off helping hands and charging all taxes overdue, he fell on bad times. He is facing money problems, and all because, in his eyes, I put an end to that corruption."
"Did Varys find proof?"
"Of course he did," Ned snorted. "There is one thing we have to say about Lord Varys, and it is that he does know how to find even the deepest of secrets. He found enough proof that even Tywin Lannister, who would certainly oppose anything in my favour, couldn't find cause to base a challenge."
"So you will talk to Robert, and then hang the would-be murderer?"
"Aye, I just have to talk to someone first."
Ella turned to him with a raised brow. "Who?" Ned only blushed, though anger rushed through him. Ned drummed his fingers on the tabletop, unhappy with the waiting. He just wanted to get the bottom of this story, and had prayed that his suspicions were unfounded. However, after everything that had happened, he needed to ask, to make sure. "Ned!" Catelyn came into the room with a bright smile. It faltered a bit when she noticed he was alone. I had hoped the girls would be with you."
"I thought about bringing them," he said. "However, what I want to speak with you about is not for their ears. depending on our conversation for today. I will ask Jory to bring them and Rickon as well tomorrow.
Rickon is here? I thought he was in Winterfell.
No, not anymore,
he said dryly, now looking for a way to ask what he had come to ask. Ned, just say it already. I know. That day before your wedding, I was out of control and the girls were disappointed. But it's been almost 2 years since then. Arya returned the letter I sent unopened, and Sansa only replied once, to ask me not to write again. Rob won't reply either. Only Bran. I made a mistake. I know that. I am trying to apologize for it. He took a deep breath and exhaled loudly.
Good. It is good that you recognize it was wrong. But we both know it was bigger than a mistake, Catelyn. But that said, I will talk with the girls about coming to see you, as I said.
Thank you. But what did you want to ask me? There was gossip you travelled north. Is that true?
Aye. Rob needed my help to deal with an issue with the Night's Watch. But I came because of something that happened while we were in Winterfell.
He threw a pouch that he had brought on the table. Catelyn frowned and reached for it.
Don't touch it, Ned warned,
but felt a weight lifting. Isla had said the pouch was very familiar, if not identical to the one she had found in Jon's cradle so long ago. So if Catelyn had had anything to do with it, her first impression would not have been to try and grab it. She pulled her hand back. I assume it's poisonous, she said, looking at him, still frowning. Then realization clicked. If you are here, you are worried it might have come from me. And that almost certainly means it was found in your son's cradle. Well, your son with the...
Watch your words, Catelyn, he snapped. I came here because I was hoping and praying you had nothing to do with this. There were 2 of them. One found in Cragen's cradle, and another found in Little Adam's. Jon and Daenerys' son, he explained when she seemed confused. But even that wouldn't be enough to compel me to think it was you, until Isla told me she found one in Jon's cradle when he was just a babe, and that you had dismissed it and said it had been her imagination, that she was trying to cause trouble to draw my attention to my son.
Catelyn frowned again. Isla who? Isn't that the laundry maid? The one you appointed to the housekeeper of those 2? She had quite a lot to say against me that day in Winterfell. Do you truly believe a laundry maid that clearly did not like me? What was she even doing in the nursery? Ned scoffed.
You really pay no mind to those you think of as beneath you, do you? He asked ironically, making her blush. All those times I invited less prestigious bannermen, common people and such to Winterfell, to sit at my table, and you turned your nose. You really don't think of them as anything worthy of time or attention.
He looked away for a moment to clear his mind.
Isla was a maid to Jon's mother.
You mean to tell me your common wife had maids before you married her?
Enough, Catelyn! Isla was a maid to Jon's mother, and as she promised to care for Jon, I brought her north with me. She was his wet nurse. I don't think I need to remind you of the low trick you used to drive her away from Winterfell, as she was the only one protecting Jon from your cruelty. She spent a few years away and returned as a laundry maid. In your ignominy of those who you think of as less than people, you didn't recognize her. Fate worked in a funny way, and I made her the Starling housekeeper. And she is Lady Cristark now.
Cristark? And Lady?
Benjen decided Stark of Blessed Island was too big. Since he is Lord of Cristalia, he decided to make it House Cristark.
So your brother was given lands and a lordship, and he decides to waste it on a common woman? Catelyn sneered. Tell me, what is the fascination with common people?
You know, Catelyn, it does astound me how someone as religious as you, someone who prays to the Seven so much, who is studying to become a scepter, can be as merciless and unkind as you are.
he said, and she looked down, blushing. But we digress. The pouch found in John's cradle. Did you have anything to do with it?
Of course not. That was imagined by Lady Christark. There was no pouch, and the bastard had...
I thought I had told you not to call him that anymore.
Very well, she huffed. Who would waste their time in plotting to murder your illegitimate son? Especially before he was old enough to walk, let alone offend anyone.
You mean other than you?
I am deeply...
Do not blame me for suspecting you. After all, you, upon your own confession, prayed for. You said you had prayed for John's death. And you did. In front of me. Yell your prayers that I would have no more children.
You are right, she conceded, begrudgingly. But I know nothing about it, and I can't speak for the past. But my father made it quite clear I was dead to him the day he kicked me out of Riverrun. So I quite doubt he would be involved. Not that it would fit him to harm children. Ned nodded and pocketed the pouch. He was standing up to leave when another thought occurred to him.
Your betrothal to Brandon. Do you know how that came about?
Oh, Father! What kind of question is this? She asked.
Curiosity. Did your father come up with it, or was it mine?
I don't... Catelyn was very confused now. His suspicions had some reason, but this... I am not sure. I don't think I ever thought about it. Liza liked to try and discover, to hear about Father's deals. One day she said Father had been exchanging letters with Lord Stark. Well, your father, obviously. A few months later, Father summoned me and told me he had arranged for my betrothal to Brandon. I don't know who came up with it. All I know is that the Septon was unhappy, saying worshippers of the true gods had nothing to do in the pagan north. But the Maester interfered and said it was a splendid match.
The Maester, Ned thought. Of course. Then I have my answer. Thank you, Catelyn.
Ned, wait. I know you don't pay attention to these things. You never did. I mean, you never liked to celebrate your own. But it would mean a lot to me if the children could come and visit me the day after tomorrow. He frowned for a moment, confused about what she meant. Catelyn rolled her eyes. It was so much like Ned to never care for dates like these. It will be the 6th day of the 2nd moon. He blinked, going through his memory and trying to remember why it would make any difference. Then he blushed a tiny bit at his own blunder. Oh, of course. I'm sorry. I don't ever think about these things. I will talk to them. Thank you, she said, watching him leave. But Ned stopped at the door.
Happy name day, Catelyn.
He then left the room, feeling indeed more relieved than she had nothing to do with either of the attempts. But it raised another question. Who had the spice merchant hired for the hit? If this had been the same man hired so long ago to attempt against John's life, was it his murderer's signature? And what an odd signature. Certainly one that would raise quite the curiosity around it. And he had never heard of it being used elsewhere. Nor had Varys said anything. But what was nagging at him was the cause of it all. Because if Varys was right, and he usually was in these cases, then the spice merchant had cause only in the attempt for little Cragen's life. But why move against little Adam as well? Because if it was a matter of being unsure which baby was Cragen, then little Adam, with his silver blonde Targaryen hair, was the one who could be excluded from the doubt. Therefore, with his grandson's parentage clear on his head, it would have made sense to only put the pouches on Cragen and Rickard's cradles. So the only explanation was that both Cragen and little Adam had been the targets from the beginning. But what did the spice merchant have against little Adam? Or, perhaps, if this were the same murderer that had failed to kill John in the past, Had he acted against little Adam only to fulfill the order he had failed before? All questions without answers. And now Ned had to prepare for another hard conversation. Ned took one last breath, summoning all of his patience, before coming into Robert's chambers.
"Ned!"
the king explained, standing up with a huge smile.
"You are here! I am so glad you are back safely, my friend."
"So am I," Ned said. "Lord Renly, it's good to see you."
"Likewise, Lord Stark. You have been missed in the small council. I'm sure you were able to glance through the piles of things to deal with."
"That boring business can wait,"
Robert said, but his smile faltered a bit more upon Ned's glare.
"I have glanced through it, but I had too much to deal with this morning. I will look deeper in the days to come. But there was a matter I need to discuss with you soon, Lord Renly, if you can spare the time."
"Most certainly."
Robert cleared his throat. "Renly, I have given you a decree. Go see to the preparations," he snapped impatiently.
His little brother had nothing else to do in his chambers other than be in the way.
"Preparations for what?"
Ned asked. Renly visibly bit his lip, keeping the answer in. The king looked down.
"Robert, preparations to what? I have given the decree,"
the king said, his patience visibly thinning.
"I heard that," Ned said. "I merely want to ascertain the subject matter of this decree." "It is a royal decree."
"And as I am hand of the king, I am going to be bold and say that I am entitled
to at least know what it is about."
Renly merely watched, looking from one man to the other as their tempers clashed. He knew his brother. The king was very used to getting his way. In truth, before Ned Stark had come to the capital, no one had ever thought to oppose him. So Robert hadn't heard the word "no" in over a decade and a half. A word he had come to hear a bit often ever since Lord Stark became hand. Now it seemed the two would argue again. But Renly was surprised to see that Robert huffed, but took a step back.
"I know you would oppose attorney,"
the king said.
"I most certainly would," Ned exclaimed. "So I told Renly to keep it simple."
Ned bit back a curse.
"And what is keeping it simple?" he asked.
Robert hesitated.
"Renly, let me see that."
The young lord passed the parchment over without delay, and Ned scoffed as he read it. Robert sat back on his desk, reaching for the wine. Ned got to the flagon before him and took it out of reach. It was the king's turn to glare.
"Lord Renly, I shall discuss this with his grace before getting back to you. Unless you have an objection, I shall stop by your sala later."
"Of course, Lord Stark.
I shall be anxiously expecting you, your grace."
Bowing, he left the room. Ned exhaled as he went to sit across from Robert at the desk.
"Sir Barristan,"
the king cleared his throat.
"He mentioned that I acted a bit out of control just before you left."
"Sir Barristan mentioned it.
Do you even remember?" "I cut back when they said you were sailing south," Robert muttered.
Robert, you can't cut back just because you want to remember my arrival." He sighed. "I hope you will not take offence, but I will speak openly to you now. And I will not speak to my king. I will speak to my friend."
"I am tired of making excuses for you, Robert." "I never asked you to make excuses for me,"
the king exclaimed, his defences going up.
"The moment you asked me to be your hand and clean up your messes was the moment you asked me to make excuses for you,"
Ned said, and the fight deflated in Robert again.
"I understand that you don't like the responsibilities and the endless constraints of the crown. But you got that when you got the capital. In Winterfell, you told me you wanted me to rule your kingdom while you hauled your way into an early grave. And I don't think you realize how soon that is coming if you don't find some balance. So, haul your way around as much as you can. It's your life, and the gods know I have no love lost for your wife. But at least try to maintain a minimum of dignity. Otherwise you'll be remembered as the whoremonger rebel king."
Robert had the decency to blush.
"What else is there to do, Ned? I have nothing. What should I live for?"
His life will be empty of joy and purpose. He will come to despise the throne he stole in the height of his hubris.
Lyanna had cursed Robert moments before her death.
Ned had been a skeptic most of his life, but lately he could not deny that there was something grander than them. He could not deny that some force, be it the gods or the magic, that governed their daily lives. There were too many coincidences otherwise.
Why did you win the throne, Robert? Ned asked, shocked at how vulnerable he looked just now.
He had only seen his old friend this vulnerable in 2 occasions. When he had brought Lyanna's bones, and when he had delivered the news of his granddaughter's birth, and the name chosen for her.
It wasn't only just so that the Mad King wouldn't chop our heads off. You won the throne. You are now responsible for millions of people this continent over. I want it for your sister, Robert exclaimed, and Ned wanted to curse. I did it to crown her as my queen. I won the war for her, and it was all for nothing. Ned felt a shiver go down his spine. I won the war for her.
It almost sounded like what Robert resented most of all was that, in that final joust in Harrenhal, it hadn't been him and Rhaegar fighting for that damned crown of winter roses. It sounded like it was never about the crown, or about the Iron Throne, and fuck the 7 kingdoms. It had all been about a garland of flowers and a queen of love and beauty. It only sounded more ridiculous when you knew the whole truth surrounding the rebellion.
Fine, Ned sighed, but my sister has been dead for almost 20 years. You can't keep living in the past, Robert. And so, we are brought back to this.
You waved the parchment in the air.
We are 6 million gold dragons in debt, Robert. We can't be having tourneys and feasts for absolutely no reason. Must we?
Robert started, and Ned saw his temper coming back.
We must count coppers, as you say, because before long the Iron Bank will call to collect its due, and we can't pay.
Ned cut in before the king could dismiss the subject.
Again. What can they do? Yell at me, Robert scoffed. They can hire mercenaries. One of the dozen companies that run around Essos, and try to wreak havoc here. Oh, they'll hire mercenaries, would they? Let them. I will get my hammer and embarrass yourself, more like, Ned said. Neither of us is winning any battles in the front lines anymore, Robert. We're 20 years beyond that. I can still kill a few bastards, he insisted. A few of the slow ones, I'm sure, before they kill you. Unless, of course, they decide to be as sycophantic as the people you surrounded yourself with and let you win.
Robert huffed, irritated, his face red with anger. But Ned didn't back down, and finally the others scoffed, exhaling in annoyance.
This is why I need you, Ned. I can't care about all of this. Not like you. Fine. I will care about everything, Robert. But you need to help me. You need to curb redundant expenses. We could have some. If you want a party, then have one. You are the king. I can counsel you, but I can't force you to do anything. But know that there will be consequences. The Iron Bank will come and kill us, our families, and your people. Fine, he conceded begrudgingly. So, about the feast. No feast, Robert. You just spent moons away. We need to celebrate. Ned sat back in his chair. Did you even bother to ask why I left? Because by your own admission, you don't remember when I came to tell you. Robert blushed. Something about the Night's Watch. Sir Barristan said you were in Castle Black. Unbelievable. Ned snorted. Rob and John went to investigate problems with the watch. In Castle Black, they decided to solve the problem they needed to speak with the king beyond the wall. The wildlings have a king. Not anymore. He's bent the knee to you.
Oh. Why, what have I given him in return? Asylum. The deal I brokered included that Lord Commander Mormont opened the gates to allow the free folk south. Why? Whatever for? The wall was there to keep them out. The White Walkers are real, Ned revealed, prepared for the reaction. And Robert didn't disappoint, laughing loudly. Oh, he said after a moment, clearing the tears that escaped his eyes. You are actually serious? Ned, it's a nursery story. I wish it was. I saw the Whites. They're foot soldiers. Trust me, Robert, we would rather they stay north of the wall. You saw them, did you? Robert snorted. Nursery stories. Those wildlings are trying to appeal to your good nature. I know what I saw in Castle Black, and I trust what my son saw beyond the wall. Fine, Robert chuckled, clearly still unbelieving. Now what? Now I go talk to Renly to see how we can enforce the law about the taxes due to the Night's Watch, and even optimize it. Then over to Baelish to see how it can bring anything to the treasury. And we pray that the Walkers and their army stay in the frozen wastelands. Robert stood up and went to grab the wine, drinking the whole cup as he took it all in. Very well, Lord Hand. Do what you must do. Anything else worthy of notice? Ned could see that Robert still did not believe in the White Walkers. And that hurt. As far-fetched as the story was, one would have thought that the king would believe his so-called best friend, rather than merely humour him. But he got the permission to go ahead with what needed to be done, so he decided not to dwell on it now. He took a deep breath in preparation for what came next. The tale of what happened in Winterfell, Lord Varys' subsequent discovery, and the proof that could sentence a man to death. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Quite an interesting one, and my throat is rather sore, so I'll keep this quick. At least Catelyn's not responsible for the murder. I like that Ella's including Sansa, teaching her how to organise these things. That's good. And I've never heard of King Robert knowing about the Night King. That's new. And it's very obvious he doesn't believe it. But, you know, Ned tried. Some people can't be helped. And Robert, well, he's a mixed bag, isn't he? Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.